Coming up on today's show, ESPN has dropped their top 100 college football players list, and Alabama had 5 players on that list. Tai Simpson was not one of them, but they did have one Tai Simpson take that they put in that article that I did appreciate. And also ESPN's Chris Fallica, a.k.a. Bear Betts, had a very bold take about the Crimson Tide that we'll get into here on today's show. Let's first start off here with ESPN's top 100 players list. Like I said, Alabama had 5 players on this list: Ryan Williams, Kadyn Proctor, Deontae Lawson, LT Overton, and Parker Brailsford all made the list here for the Crimson Tide. Personally, I think Ryan Williams, or at least Kadyn Proctor as well, should have made it in to the top 10 of this list. So if you guys think Ryan Williams, you can even throw Kadyn Proctor in there too, because I've seen him in plenty of first-round NFL mock drafts, and especially inside that top 10. If you think either one of those guys should have been in ESPN's top 100 or top 10 college footballs list, make sure you go down there and like today's video. All right, so let's look at the top 10 here. I think a lot of these guys are fair. There's one guy in particular that you guys know I'm not a big fan of. Jeremiah Smith, yeah, definitely number 1 player in college football this year. Anthony Hill Jr., one of the top linebackers in college football. Caleb Downs, RIP, wish he was still with the Crimson Tide here. Cade Klubnik, I know a lot of people are not very high on Cade Klubnik, but I do think going into an extra year here at Clemson, towards the end of the season last year, he was playing a whole lot better. An extra off season just to be able to get better. I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on him in terms of fan bases out there. Jeremiah Love, TJ Parker, Spencer Fanu. And just because I'm a hardhead and I'm an Alabama fan, I'm going to stick with this take. I don't think Garrett Nussmeier is good. I think he's a head case that has a very good arm and throws the ball a lot, which leads to a lot of passing yards. And I think a lot of people are just, very sold on the fact that they're going to see a lot of growth from him this year. But I think he just makes a lot of bonehead mistakes. Peter Woods, wished he went to Alabama as well coming out of high school. He was supposed to. He's listed in the top 10 here. Dylan Stewart there at number 10. And then Colin Simmons, defensive end for Texas, was actually that number 11 spot. And then Ryan Williams was there at that 12 spot after him. Now, the player that was not listed on ESPN's top 100 list was Tai Simpson that I want to talk about here today. And I do think it's fair not to put Tai Simpson on ESPN's top 100 college football players list. This is going to be the first season that Tai Simpson is the starter, and there just isn't a lot of tape and really expectations for Tai Simpson per a national media perspective. But I do think that he will be I do think that he is better than a few players on this top 100 list. So we are going to kind of break down some of those players, and I'm just kind of going to stick with quarterbacks on that one just to be able to compare apples to apples there. But get down at the pinned comment and let me know what you guys think. How many touchdowns will Tai Simpson throw this year for the Crimson Tide? Let me know what you guys think down at the pinned comment of today's video. He's going to have a ton of weapons, and I think, with the playmaking ability that he has, I think Tai Simpson's going to go out there and have a really, really solid season for Alabama. So get down there and let me know what you guys think. All right, Diego Pavia was listed at number 97 on this list, and respect to Pavia. He beat us last year. He's beaten Auburn multiple times in his career. But I don't think he's better than Tai Simpson. I just really don't. And, the same here goes with Haynes King as well at Georgia Tech. Respect to him. I think he's a good quarterback in that system at Georgia Tech. But I think Tai Simpson's going to be better. That's just how I feel about it. And now Haynes King might end up running for more yards than Tai Simpson this year. But, Tai legitimately might double him up in passing yards this year. I will give Haynes King credit where it's due. He has an incredible touchdown to interception ratio. 14 touchdowns last year to only 2 interceptions. So I would take that ratio any day of the week, and hopefully Tai Simpson does have that kind of success as well. But I think when you're just talking about the two different types of systems here, it's kind of a cookie cutter, weird system, kind of the same as that Vanderbilt system that they're running there at Georgia Tech. I think Tai Simpson's just at the end of the day, I think he's a better quarterback in a, more electric type of offense. I think he's going to put up way more numbers here than Haynes King. They also had DJ Lagway on this list as well. And while DJ Lagway, can he improve in year two? Of course, anybody can. But I am not convinced that DJ Lagway is even healthy. If I'm not mistaken, he wasn't even throwing during the springtime. He's an incredible athlete, but look, man, last year he threw for 59% completion percentage, 12 touchdowns to 9 interceptions in 12 games. That is not a good touchdown to interception ratio. You know, we all complained about Jalen Milroe at times last year, but at least he didn't put up that type of production. So they had him listed at number 25 on this list. I think with what Florida got from DJ Lagway last year, I think that is way too high to put him on this list. Now, one thing that ESPN did include in this article or in these rankings were players who might be able to jump into the top 25 or into the top 100 throughout the remainder of the season. Kyle Bonagura, actually, this was his take on Tai Simpson here. He said, "I remain a big believer in Kalen DeBoer, and his reunion with Ryan Grubb as the offensive coordinator was a significant addition. For those reasons, I'm expecting Alabama quarterback Tai Simpson to have a breakout season for the Crimson Tide starter. The track record that Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb have developing quarterbacks together is enough evidence to believe more success will come." I think this has been the vibe all spring long. If you've been since the spring anyways, if you guys have been following this Alabama football team, and, you know, I do the same thing when it comes to these rankings. There's a lot of projecting, but, you know, the coaching staff keeps talking about Tai Simpson's command of the offense, his leadership ability. He's taking care of the football. I think, you know, it was Gino Vandermark. I think it was Gino Vandermark the other day that was, you know, saying kind of something along the lines of, you know, either somebody along the offensive line either, you know, lined up wrong or there was a false start or something like that, and Tai Simpson just jumped down their throat. That really does remind me of some of the leadership that you got from a guy like A.J. McCarron as well. You know, the guys are behind Tai Simpson right now because he's going out there and doing the right things, not just because he's the older guy. You know, he's going out there every single day performing against a really, really good Alabama team as well. I think he's only thrown like 1 or 2 picks so far during this Alabama fall camp. And I think by the end of the season, there is going to be a shot, I think, for Tai Simpson to at least be in the Heisman conversation. And I think that his draft stock is going to skyrocket this season for the Crimson Tide. All right, we'll continue with our show here in just a second. But first, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks because they are the sponsor of today's video. Preseason football is underway and college football is also back, so don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. I personally use Prize Picks for a ton of different types of sporting events. You have professional football, baseball, basketball, college sports, MMA, and so much more. Prize Picks is a ton of fun, and if you guys know ball, you can win real money all season long on Prize Picks. And make sure, if you see these Prize Picks deals, make sure you add them to your Prize Picks lineups today. This one, Dak Prescott, first week of the season, only has to have a half passing yard, so you cannot miss out on that. It is a surefire win for you on those Prize Picks slates, so make sure you guys add those freebies. It's the NFL Max discount to your Prize Picks lineups. Prize Picks is very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money today. Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is down in the description and at the pinned comment of today's video as well. It's Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, ESPN's Chris Fallica, a.k.a. Bears Bets, the bald guy that you see on ESPN during College Game Day doing some of the bet segments there, he had a wild take about his expectations for Alabama this season. So I'll kind of break down this quote kind of one take at a time, but I want to give it to you in entirety here before we get to that. He said they couldn't run the ball worth a lick last year outside of Jalen Milroe. Ty Simpson is going to be a bit of a statue this year. They don't have the dominant pass rusher, defensive end, outside linebacker like they've had in years past. Malachi Moore was the undisputed leader for this team, and he is gone. I think there might be a few more issues and underlying questions with this Alabama team that a lot of people are not willing to admit. I am not sold that this is back to old Alabama where they're 11-1 or 10-2 this year. So before we get into my take here, what is your one-word reaction to this Chris Fallica take on Alabama? Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section of today's show. You can be as creative as you want. Say it's crazy. Say it's bold. Say it's weird. Say whatever you want. Just make sure it's not, super out of pocket or anything like that. Get down there and let me know your one-word reaction to this Chris Fallica take on the Crimson Tide coming up this season. All right, so take number one. I'm going to break him down all here one by one here. He said Alabama couldn't run the ball last year outside Jalen Milroe. That's a fair take. Look, the offensive line really hasn't been able to get a consistent push in the run game for at least a couple of seasons now. Maybe since that 2020 season was the last time you really feel solid going out there on a 3rd and 4 and being able to run the ball up the middle and definitely get that first down. They also had a lot of guys moving in and out of that offensive line, so that didn't really help at all either. But then the one that really kind of was just the craziest thing to me was he said Tai Simpson is going to be a statue. That is the craziest statement I've ever heard. Look, dude, you work for ESPN. Pick up the phone and call somebody. Tai Simpson is a very, very good athlete. This is kind of up there with that Tai Simpson is like Mac Jones stuff. I don't think either one of those guys are really the same in terms of their athletic ability. Tai Simpson's a really good athlete, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's going to shock a ton of people with his ability to extend plays with his legs last year and also, make some really good runs as well. Every touchdown Tai Simpson has had in his career so far, he's got 3. Every single one of them are rushing on the ground. He still doesn't have a passing touchdown yet. And he does also he should have a 4th touchdown on the ground as well, but in that Chattanooga game in 2023, he had that 78-yard run, but he dropped the ball before he got to the end zone. So that was a bonehead thing. But to say Ty Simpson's going to be back there and is going to be a statue, that is an absolutely asinine statement. The third take here. Alabama has no dominant pass rusher or linebacker like they've had in years of the past. My take on this, they're going to find out soon. LT Overton did struggle last year finishing some of those sacks, but the dude had 39 pressures last season. Quay Russaw, as long as he stays healthy this year, he's going to be a freaking monster. Deontae Lawson, despite coming back from a bad knee injury last season, he is still projected to go in the first round of next year's NFL draft. Lawson and Overton were also listed in ESPN's Top 100 list, so I don't want to hear that Alabama doesn't have a dominant pass rusher or they don't have a linebacker. And Keon Keeley, I think he's going to be a wild card this year at that defensive end spot for Alabama. Justin Hill, I think he's going to be a wild card. May not necessarily play this year, but I think the ceiling is very, very high for him. Same with Jordan Renaud. I'm very excited to see what he can bring to the table for Alabama this season. They might not surprise you and me this season, but I think the national media is going to find out very soon that this Crimson Tide team is going to be very, very good. And I think there is a chip on their shoulder, and they are coming into this 2025 season looking to make a statement. And also one more thing as well. He talked about Malachi Moore being the leader for Alabama's team last year. You have a ton of leaders on this team this year. Ty Simpson has already won the team over. You look at a guy like Tim Keenan. You look at, other players on this team as well. Deontae Lawson, the coaching staff has raved about his leadership ability as well. Damani Jackson, I know this is only his second year with Alabama, but he could go in the first or second round of next year's NFL draft as well. So I think to say that this team doesn't have any leaders this year is also a crazy statement to make as well. Make sure you guys go follow me over on Twitter. That's at Chris Chat Sports. Got plenty of Alabama content over there. Also got some Bengals content as I took over host duties for our Bengals Breakdown channel as well. Our next goal is to get to 400 followers over on Twitter. Only 33 away, so help me out, stay up to date on all things Crimson Tide news. That's at Chris Chat Sports over on Twitter.